Welcome to Bible Talk Insight. We are really thrilled you're joining us for this special supplemental exploration. Today, we're laying down some essential groundwork, kind of getting the big picture for our ongoing study, Living the Law. Think of it as, zooming out to see the whole landscape before we focus on the fascinating details. It really helps everything click, I find.
Precisely. Yeah, before we can truly grasp living the law and, well, what it means for us today, before we appreciate the wisdom in God's instructions, we really need to understand the grand story, the drama, and the structure of the Bible book that gives us these principles. We're talking about Exodus, of course, an incredible book. And it's so much more than just ancient history. It's like a living blueprint of salvation, a powerful mirror reflecting our own journey with Jesus. It's actually amazing how relevant these old stories still feel.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's an exploration that promises some real aha moments, I think. Help us get a deeper understanding of God's character, his love for us. And hey, if you want to continue this journey, make sure you join us for our main and bonus episodes too. We go even deeper there. And for daily encouragement and conversation, find us on Facebook. Just search for Bible Talk Insight. Oh, and don't forget to hit subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you never miss out on our Bible-based insights. We really aim to inspire, educate, and ultimately draw you closer to Jesus.
The grand narrative of Exodus.
Okay, so let's unpack this huge story. At its core, Exodus is really about God's saving presence. That's the thread. It details God's magnificent work redeeming his people from, well, what Bible scholars often call the Egypt of the world, which is a powerful picture, isn't it? That place of bondage, sin, hopelessness we can all find ourselves in. But it doesn't end there. God prepares them for a heavenly Canaan, a place of freedom, purpose, relationship with him. And what's amazing is where it starts. So small.
It really does. Just Jacob and his family, 70 people, walking into Egypt, pretty vulnerable. But then fast forward to the Exodus itself. Exodus 12 tells us there were 600,000 fighting men. That implies, maybe over 2 million people total. A tremendous multitude.
Wow.
And this huge growth happened despite centuries of cruel oppression. It's not just numbers, it's a powerful sign of God's faithfulness. He can bring something massive, nation-defining from almost nothing, even in the worst conditions. It's his promise in action.
That's such a crucial point. That transformation under those conditions, it really sets the stage for everything else in the Bible. God's power, his commitment. But, it's a big book, lots going on. How do we navigate it?
Well, to help with that, John Durham, a respected Bible scholar, gives us a really helpful framework. He divides Exodus into 3 main geographical sections, and they aren't just random spots on a map. They show a clear, logical flow. They chart God's progressive work with his people, their journey of deliverance, really, physical and spiritual.
Okay, let's walk through those. The first act, then, is Egypt. That's Exodus 1.1 up to 13.16. This covers the bitter slavery, the lead up to the incredible Passover, and right away we meet Pharaoh. His arrogance is chilling. Exodus 5.2, who is the Lord, that I should obey his voice?
Yeah.
They do not know the Lord, nor will I let Israel go.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that wasn't just like political stubbornness. Bible scholars point out this was deeper. It symbolized a godless, rebellious power, an atheistic stance against the true God, his word, his people, a clash of worldviews.
And his refusal leads to the plagues. It's interesting, isn't it, how even when Moses' staff becomes a serpent, the Egyptian magicians kind of replicated it first. Shows some other power was at play.
Right, but then Aaron's staff swallows theirs, a clear sign of God's superior power, even if Pharaoh missed it. And the plagues themselves, they weren't random bolts from the blue. Bible scholars explain them as a very public showdown, a divine conflict between our God and all the Egyptian gods. Each plague was designed to prove who really held power.
Right, targeted.
Exactly, to dismantle Egyptian trust in their deities and show God's sovereignty. The Egyptians had mocked Israel's God for generations, pointing to their Nile, their crops. But then, boom, Nile to blood, that's against Happy, frogs against Hecate, livestock disease against Hathor, darkness against Ra. It was systematic.
Wow.
And Pharaoh's heart. The text says he hardened it himself, repeatedly rejecting God's warnings, God's light. Then eventually it says God hardened Pharaoh's heart, almost like God gave him over to his own choices.
The sobering thought.
It is. A warning for us, really. If we keep resisting God, our hearts can become callous. Even the magicians couldn't stop the boils on themselves. Shows how useless their magic really was.
And then the Passover. Such a pivotal moment, foundational. It wasn't just about physical freedom, though it was definitely that. It profoundly foreshadowed Jesus.
Absolutely.
Paul says it straight up in 1 Corinthians 5.7. Christ, our Passover, was sacrificed for us. The lamb male, no blemish, blood on the doorposts. It all points to Jesus, the perfect lamb.
The details matter.
They do. The blood meant protection, life when death was passing over. And it was an act of faith, right? They did it before they were actually free.
Yes, trusting the promise before seeing it fulfilled. That's key.
And it was meant to be remembered. A command for parents to tell their kids, this happened to us, making it personal for every generation.
Keeping history alive.
Yeah. And removing the leaven, often symbolizing sin, showing the need for purity, readiness for God's deliverance, leaving the old ways behind.
From Egypt, the story shifts dramatically. They head into the wilderness. That's Exodus 13.17 to 18.27. And this part is, it's a real crucible of faith. We see the amazing Red Sea rescue, but also hunger, thirst, complaining, and God's constant provision.
Right. They're just free, and suddenly they seem trapped. Egyptian army behind, Red Sea in front. Talk about impossible.
Utterly impossible. Pharaoh's advisors thought Israel was lost out there, confused, fueled their pursuit. They wanted them back or dead.
But Moses, guided by God, tells them, I love this, do not be afraid. Stand still and see the salvation of the Lord.
Powerful words.
Which he will accomplish for you today. The Lord will fight for you, and you shall hold your peace. Exodus 14.
And then God parts the waters. A dry path through the sea. Walls of water on either side. Incredible.
And the entire Egyptian army wiped out. Not one of them remained, Exodus 14 says.
Total destruction. That moment was so huge, it's commemorated in the Song of Moses and Miriam in Exodus 15. And it even echoes in Revelation 15 with the redeemed singing that same song in heaven.
Wow, I didn't realize that connection.
Yeah. It sealed their deliverance and should have been this constant reminder of God's power.
And all through this, God's presence was visible, right? The pillar of cloud, the pillar of fire.
Constantly there, guiding them, protecting them. It even acted as a barrier, confusing the Egyptians while lighting Israel's path. Many Bible scholars see that pillar as a type, a pre-incarnate glimpse of Christ leading his people. But that wilderness journey, it was tough, full of trials meant to refine their faith, teach them dependence.
Like the bitter waters at Marah.
Exactly, and they're grumbling for food. The Hebrew word for grumbling, lun, pops up there and becomes almost a theme, sadly.
Despite the miracles.
Right. Despite seeing the Red Sea part, they struggled with trust when things got inconvenient.
But God was faithful. He provided manna.
Daily. The bread of life, teaching them dependence, teaching that man doesn't live by bread alone, and teaching the Sabbath, too. Double portion on Friday, none on Saturday. For 40 years that happened.
Amazing.
Only stopped when they reached the Promised Land. And he gave water from a rock. Bible scholars often link that to Jesus, the true water of life. It's a reminder for us, isn't it? Don't judge God's faithfulness by immediate feelings. Trust his word daily.
So this journey, challenging but transforming, brings them to Sinai. Exodus 19, right through to the end, chapter 40. And this section, especially around the giving of the law, is the absolute focus for our study, Living the Law.
It really is. God brings them not just to a place, a mountain, but as Exodus 19.4 says, he brings them to myself.
Yeah.
That's huge. It's theological, not just geographical. It's about relationship, intimacy, encounter.
And the scene itself. It sounds terrifying.
Oh, it was. Exodus 19 describes thunder, lightning, thick cloud, a loud trumpet getting louder, the whole mountain shaking, covered in smoke and fire as God descends.
Designed to inspire awe.
Profound awe, yeah, holy fear. Preparing them spiritually for the gift of the Decalogue, the Ten Commandments. And after that, God gives the detailed instructions for the tabernacle, his sanctuary. Why? So he could dwell among them. Exodus 25.8. It wasn't just rules, it was about making a way for a holy God to live right there with his redeemed people.
The core purpose of God's laws.
So as we move from the journey to the covenant at Sinai, it's really vital to grasp this central theme in Exodus. Some scholars, like Dr. Muscala, talk about a central verse that's key. The whole point isn't just laws, rules, regulations. It revolves entirely around God's redemptive power, his grace, and his deep desire for relationship, a covenant relationship.
Not distant.
Not at all. He's an active redeemer, passionately wanting to connect, to dwell with them, guide them.
And our memory text for this study, Exodus 19.4 to 6, just nails this, doesn't it? It's the heart of the covenant. God says, you saw what I did to the Egyptians, how I carried you on eagle's wings and brought you to myself.
He starts with what he did, grace first.
Exactly. Now, therefore, if you obey my voice and keep my covenant, you'll be my special treasure, a kingdom of priests, a holy nation.
It's a legal setup for that intimate relationship. The promise, I'll be their God, they'll be my people. And it's based on his initiating love, not their merit. He's inviting their response based on what he's already done.
So important.
And crucially, this means the laws aren't just dropped on them out of nowhere. They're rooted in God as Redeemer. Look at the start of the Ten Commandments. I am the Lord your God who led you out of Egypt. Exodus 20:2.
Right, relationship first.
That changes everything. The commands that follow no other gods, no idols, keep the Sabbath, they flow from that saving act. It's not a dictator's list. It's loving guidance for how rescued people live with their rescuer. A blueprint for freedom.
So the laws aren't separate from God's saving work. They're integral. They outline how redeemed people live with their Redeemer. They reveal God's character, holy, righteous, good. They guide us in loving God, loving others, like a transcript of his character, as some say.
Indeed. And Jesus himself in Matthew 5 said he came to fulfill the law, not abolish it. He gave it deeper meaning, like just being angry in your heart. That violates the spirit of do not kill.
Goes beyond the outward action.
Way beyond. Paul says in Romans 7, the law is holy, just, and good. It's not oppressive. So God's commands aren't burdens. They're actually promises assured to us if we render obedience. When we truly want to do his will, he gives us his spirit to empower us. His law is a gift of love, showing how to love perfectly, how to flourish.
Which leads us to that really profound idea from Paul in Galatians 3:24, the law as a schoolmaster or custodian to bring us to Christ so we can be justified by faith. It has this educational redemptive purpose that points beyond itself.
Exactly right. The law is like a mirror. A mirror shows you the dirt on your face, right? Your flaws. Well, the moral law is a spiritual mirror. It shows us our sin, our inability to meet God's standard perfectly. It reveals our desperate need for a savior.
But the mirror can't clean your face.
Precisely. It shows the problem but offers no solution. The law points us to Christ, the only one who can cleanse, forgive, transform us inside out. Its ultimate aim isn't condemnation, but guidance to true life. It leads to love from a pure heart, good conscience, sincere faith. All roads lead to Jesus. Trying to be saved by keeping the law perfectly. That's like staring in the mirror hoping the dirt disappears. It won't. It just shows you need a savior.
Understanding law categories.
Okay, so given that purpose, let's look at how God's guidance was practically given. The Bible presents the law not as punishment, but more like a protective fence, creating this large free space for life inside, but clearly marking the dangers outside. Not random rules, but divine wisdom for our protection and happiness.
Absolutely. And these various laws we find in Exodus and beyond, they kind of unpack the big principles in the Ten Commandments. They were given to help people whose minds have been, frankly, blinded and debased by slavery and heathenism for centuries. They needed help to grasp God's principles fully.
Makes sense.
They were called judgments, not just for punishment, but because of their wisdom and fairness, meant to guide daily life, shape the whole society. And unlike the Ten Commandments, which God spoke publicly, many of these were given to Moses privately, who then taught the people. He was the interpreter.
So at the very core, you have the moral law. The Ten Commandments, the 10 words, foundational, timeless, universal, revealing God's character, setting the boundaries for loving him and loving others. The bedrock.
Totally. Let's take an example. Exodus 20, right after the first commandment, says, "You shall not make anything to be with me gods of silver or gods of gold." Bible scholars stress idolatry isn't just statues. It's anything we put before God. Ideas, activities, possessions, relationships, anything that captures our hearts more than him.
We can make idols out of anything.
We really can. Even good things become idols if they displace God. It's a constant battle for priority.
And another core moral law, the Sabbath, rooted in creation, before sin. A perpetual sign between God and his people. Reminds us he's creator, he owns us, he sanctifies us. We saw it with the manna, right? Taught even before Sinai.
Yes, that daily lesson in rest, trust, and obedience. He wanted them to rest as an act of faith. Then you have the civil and judicial laws. These translated the moral principles into practical rules for Israelite society, given privately to Moses, taught to the people, aimed at fairness, justice, protecting the vulnerable, essential for a community coming out of slavery.
Like the lex talionis, eye for an eye, often misunderstood.
Hugely misunderstood. It sounds brutal to us, but it was actually humane for its time. It was meant to limit retaliation.
Stop things escalating.
Exactly. Prevent blood feuds. It ensured punishment fit the crime, often met through compensation or restitution, not literal maiming. Right. It was for judges in court, not personal revenge. Revolutionary justice, really. And there were laws about property rights. Your ox gores a neighbor's ox, what happens? Rules for theft, borrowed items, injured animals. God cares about the practical details. Even laws about Hebrew servants, Exodus 21. Freedom after 6 years unless they chose to stay out of love.
Yeah.
A huge contrast to Egyptian slavery. shows God's concern for dignity.
Okay, and the last category.
The ceremonial laws. These weren't just empty rituals. They were packed with symbolism, object lessons pointing to deeper truths, ultimately to Christ.
Like the Passover feast we talked about with the unleavened bread.
Right. Removing leaven representing sin, corruption show the need for purity, readiness for God's deliverance, preparing for a holy God.
Hmm.
And another really profound one was the command to put away foreign gods and their symbols. Exodus 22 and 23 mention it. This wasn't just avoiding obvious idols. It was about removing the accoutrements of the life we once lived in Egypt, the subtle stuff.
The leftover influences.
Exactly. A radical call to internal and external purity. God claims the whole person, inside and out. He was calling them to be truly distinct, holy, set apart for him, leaving behind not just chains, but the spiritual baggage of Egypt too. A call to total transformation. Conclusion. So as we've kind of walked through this today, you can see how understanding the big story of Exodus, God's saving presence, his mighty acts, his desire for relationship, and understanding these different kinds of laws he gave really enriches our study of living the law. These aren't just dusty old rules. They're a living revelation of God's character, his plan for us to thrive, his ongoing work to redeem and change us, his guide to real freedom and joy.
It's just such a powerful reminder that God is always in charge. Always. We can absolutely trust him, even when things look impossible, like our own Red Sea moments. So as you continue studying Exodus personally, really dig into these stories. Pray for God's wisdom. Let these accounts of his power and these laws of love inspire you, draw you closer to Jesus. Experience his transforming power in your own life. He wants to set us free too.
He really does. And remember, that covenant at Sinai, it wasn't based on legalism. It was founded on God's redemptive love, designed to bring his people close to himself. So maybe the thought to ponder is this. How does seeing the law, not just as rules, but as a mirror, reflecting Christ's character and pointing us to him, how does that reshape your daily walk with Jesus?
That's a great question to carry with us. Thank you so much for joining us for this supplemental look into Exodus here on Bible Talk Insight. We genuinely pray it's inspired you, maybe taught you something new, and drawn you closer to Jesus. For more, tune into our main and bonus episodes and connect with us on Facebook at Bible Talk Insight for daily encouragement. And please subscribe so you don't miss our future journeys through the Bible. Until next time, God bless you.